the throttle trigger about a quarter of the way back and accelerate for 2 seconds. Then apply the brake to stop. Let's try it. Now count out the 2 seconds while you're accelerating. 1001, 1002, and then brake. Let's try that again. 1001, 1002, and then brake. Notice that I'm barely pulling the trigger back to about a quarter throttle, and that my actions are very slow and gentle. If you accelerate too quickly, you could cause the engine to stall. There's a nice trail of blue smoke coming from the exhaust. This means our fuel mixture is set correctly, and the engine is getting enough fuel for proper lubrication. If you aren't seeing any smoke from the engine, or if it cuts out or stalls when accelerating, then richen the high-speed fuel mixture 1/4 turn and check again for smoke. Continue driving in this manner until the first tank of fuel is nearly empty. Always pay careful attention to the fuel level. You'll have to periodically bring the model in and check the fuel level. Never allow the fuel tank to run completely empty. When the fuel level is very low, it causes the mixture to be too lean. This could result in a burned out glow plug or extremely high engine temperatures. When the tank is nearly empty, bring the model in and shut off the engine by pinching the fuel line connected to the carburetor. Allow the engine to cool off for about 15 minutes before you refuel. From now on, we'll be running the model with the body on. Now we've already refueled, so let's start it up and drive. I'm going to be driving it just like I did the first tank of fuel, only this time I'm going to pull the trigger back to half throttle. Again, count out 2 seconds while you accelerate. It should take the entire 2 seconds to reach half throttle with the trigger. Keep your throttle motion smooth and accelerate and brake gently. Let's try it. 1001, 1002, then stop. 1001, 1002, then stop. When the tank is nearly empty, bring the model in and shut off the engine. Remember to simply pinch the fuel line connected to the carburetor. Let the engine cool for about 15 minutes. For the third tank of fuel in our break-in process, I'm going to reach 1/2 throttle on a 3 count instead of a 2 count. Now I'm still not pulling the throttle past halfway. 1001, 1002, 1003, and brake. 1001, 1002, 1003, and brake. As the engine begins to loosen, you may need to decrease the idle speed slightly. If the model won't stand still, use your tuning screwdriver to turn the idle screw counterclockwise to reduce the idle speed. When the tank is nearly empty, bring the model in, shut off the engine, and refuel. From here on, you don't have to let the engine cool between tanks. For tank 4, we're going to reach full throttle this time, over a 3 count, and then brake gently to stop. Make sure you reach full throttle gradually over the entire count of 3 so that you won't do a wheelie or flip the truck over. On models equipped with a 2-speed, the transmission may try to shift into second gear. If it does, let off the throttle. Remember to keep your driving smooth and consistent. When the 4th tank is nearly gone, bring the model in, shut off the engine, and refuel. Now it's starting to get fun. For this last tank in our break-in process, we'll be accelerating to full throttle for 3 seconds, and then holding it for 2 seconds before we brake to stop. Here we go. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, then brake. Again, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, and brake. Congratulations, your engine is broken in. Now it's time to tune it for optimum performance. Performance tuning the TRX 2.5 is not a difficult job. You simply lean the fuel mixture in very small increments until you no longer see improvements in performance. At that point, you richen the fuel mixture slightly. The high-speed needle is always tuned first. Begin by making several high-speed passes to make sure the engine is warm. Tuning adjustments must be made to the engine at its normal operating temperature. Turn the high-speed needle clockwise 1/16 of a turn and make a few more high-speed passes. Notice any improvements in the performance. Continue this procedure until you notice that the performance is no longer improving when you lean the fuel mixture. At that point, richen the fuel mixture slightly by turning the high-speed needle counterclockwise 1/16 to 1/8 of a turn. This setting will provide great performance for everyday running and extend the life of your engine components. If you run your engine too lean in an effort to gain performance, you could damage it. An engine that's tuned past its safe lean point shows the following warning signs. The engine begins to cut out at high speed. There is no longer a trail of blue exhaust smoke. There's a sudden loss of power during acceleration. Or the engine begins to overheat. If any one of these occurs, you're already well past the maximum safe lean fuel mixture and engine damage is likely. Stop it once. Allow the engine to cool and richen the fuel mixture by turning the high-speed needle counterclockwise at least 1/8 turn. You will need to retune for performance. Just be careful not to lean it as much this time. This setting will provide great performance and extended life to the engine components. If you are using the Traxxas onboard digital temp gauge or an infrared temperature probe, don't let the engine temperature exceed 270 degrees at the glow plug. Now let's tune the low speed needle using the pinch test. We'll leave the body off the model for now. Begin by making several high-speed passes to make sure the engine is warm and any excess fuel is cleared out of the engine. Bring the model in and observe the idle speed. If the model is trying to creep forward, then reduce the idle speed. Turn the idle screw counterclockwise. Now make a few more high-speed passes, then bring the model in. Pinch the fuel line going to the carburetor. The engine should run for 2 to 3 seconds, then speed up and die. If your engine runs longer than 3 seconds, then lean the low speed needle 1/8 turn and retest. Turn the screw clockwise to lean the mixture. If the engine dies immediately without speeding up, then richen the low speed needle 1/8 turn, counterclockwise, and retest. Always do several high-speed runs between adjustments to clear the engine of any excess fuel. When the low-speed needle is set correctly, the engine should accelerate sharply with no hesitation or stalling. Finally, let's do one last check of the idle speed. Set the idle speed as low as possible so that the engine will start and run reliably. This one sounds just fine. As you drive your model on a daily basis, you may need to adjust for changes in temperature and humidity. Generally, you will need to allow for more fuel flow when the weather is cooler by turning the high-speed needle counterclockwise to richen the fuel mixture. On hot, humid days, turn the high-speed needle clockwise to lean the fuel mixture. In high elevations, you'll need less fuel flow to compensate for the thinner air. Turn the high-speed needle clockwise 1/8 turn. Now that the engine's broken in and tuned, there's nothing left to do but drive and have fun.